Hi, friends, we're back with another video. Today I wanted to talk about the Las Vegas shooting. Unfortunately, I think the narrative coming out of this is still about gun control. Unfortunately, I am not a huge fan of gun control because I always believe that there's a bigger picture that needs to be taken care of, and that's of course to me mental health. And then a giant secondary to that is education. And almost like a third segue to that is just economic stability. And that really just has to do with the first 2 points. So what I really want to focus on is that in order to have a person have this crazy plan of getting a firearm and probably converting it to a fully automatic firearm, and then going through all the steps necessary to pull off this Las Vegas shooting, doesn't necessarily indicate a stable person. And because basically we all know that if my words take a violent external action, then I'm not using my words correctly, and realistically you shouldn't be heard at that point. And what's happening at this point is that instead of people hearing that it's somebody obviously unstable pulling this off, they're hearing just gun, gun, gun. And tons of other countries that have guns have a very similar problem, but even crazier is, of course, there's tons of other countries that have a very similar problem and they don't have guns. Yes, I'm getting way off topic. I'm going to find a way to splice this. No, I'm not. Anyways, that is just way off topic because basically I want to focus on the mental health thing. We aren't talking about mental health. Even I get a little distracted, obviously, about this whole situation. And recently we even found out that hookworm was ravaging the South in American history from 1900s up all the way until 1950. And that could have caused people to literally be foggy and stupid and figure out that's where the Southern draw came from. So, a lot of things need to be discussed with mental health, what happens in your brain. Science needs to be allowed to catch up because there's so many things that are just illegal, taboo, frowned upon, not funded for idiotic and usually just what people consider to be immoral reasons. Something I recently found out is that animals weren't even considered being, they didn't have the availability to be extinct to modern science because God wouldn't create a creature that they would allow to die off. So if we start letting religion and science and morality and everything that has to do with fact be separate from fact, we might actually be able to make a progressive headway on these kinds of issues. I've never necessarily heard of a rich top 20%er just losing their mind and deciding that it's a good idea to spend all their money on vigilantism. They go about things a different way, and when those people start to become crazy, in my opinion, luckily there's a lot of people around them to say, hey, your decisions carry weight, I have to question you about it. Unfortunately, their motives are usually a little selfish and has to do with money, but when it comes to mental health, even your family, who should be questioning you, your friends who should be questioning you, find that a little too invasive. I myself am a homebody. I own some firearms. I haven't spoken to my family in some time. I've been known to be passionate. I have mood swings. So realistically, even though I don't have a history of mental instability per se, it would be nice after something like a shooting or something like this where somebody would actually call me and be like, "Hey, I understand, that you're sensitive and you're a legal person that owns firearms. You don't want to do anything stupid." But luckily, the only person I have in my life that actually does that is Rio Venture. She's a constant balance in my life that actually does that. But, like I said, I don't have anybody else in my life that actually would do that. So I imagine that most of these mass murdering types of people don't have people in their lives that do that. The gentleman who pulled this Las Vegas shooting, from what I understand, the brother didn't know that he had this kind of capability. It was weird to him. And he didn't also speak to him in some time. They apparently were estranged. So, yet again, families seem to kind of fail. We can't really rely on society to question just the average individual either, because in my mind, I can't even get people to look me in the eye when I walk down the street. So, I mean, that hair is not helping. But in any case, I still can't get people to look me in the eye. Not the society I necessarily want to live in. So if I figure if you teach mental health and mental stability, you'll learn how to love yourself first. That helps enormously in mental stability. And then you can start helping other people, and that increases other people's mental stability. And along with education, you learn that this is the right thing to do, basically. And my segue that I really always want to push is economic stability. Back in the caveman era, we were worried that we stepped outside of our cave and we might die that day. Nowadays, we step out our front door. There's still no guarantee that we're going to live that day. I hear people make constant choices if they need gas or if they can have food. That's insane. So, nobody wants to be forced into anything. Nobody wants to be forced into socialism with that ugly word. But being forced to pay taxes to uphold systems that we don't think work in the first place sounds a lot like a weird socialism with an extra step that is completely ineffective. I myself support basic income because it'd be nice if I knew every month I could afford to buy my groceries. Groceries don't have to be given to me because it'd be nice to have the choice of what groceries I want to buy. But it'd be nice to, instead of having to worry about welfare and food stamps and social security and everything like that, every fucking person that has registered for this program gets $2,000 a month or something like that. And if I've recalled correctly, the budget on this, if we were to eliminate all of our current spending and just go with the basic income spending, we actually save literally trillions of dollars doing that kind of a system. So in my eyes, that helps with mental stability. And if we were educated, it's kind of the umbrella of the system, that those things would come naturally. So the takeaway from this, and the TLDR of this, if you fast forward to the end especially, is that please, we need to find a way to educate our populace, and that does take somebody having the economic burden to do so. And if we can do that, then we can work on mental stability, and in order to have mental stability, I have to not worry about going outside and dying because I don't have a paycheck. So for that point, I suppose I'll end the video. So until next time, this has been Bash Venture.